All right, this is the lecture for Nationalism, Italy, and Germany in the Nationalism unit. We're going to start out by taking out the first vocab word, Russification. You don't have to define that one. The other two we'll get to, but the first one is out. All right, we're going to look at Italy first, and Italy was a disunified group of kingdoms previous to the 1800s, and the largest kingdom of which was Sardinia, and that is this chunk of land here plus this yellow, was the largest, most powerful kingdom in this area. So that's for number one. If we skip number two for a second, we'll look at number three. When Sardinia started to unify and they received a threat from Austria over here, the natural country that they would reach out to, hopefully it makes sense, is this one over here on this side, France. So for number three, your answer here is France. Sardinia and France for those two questions. Now let's look at the two individuals who are responsible for helping unite Italy into a unified country. So this is for number two. You write the person's name and their role, name/role. So Victor Emmanuel II was the prime minister of Italy who helped orchestrate the unification process. He also appointed, no, he was the king. He appointed a prime minister who was going to be very ambitious and help unify Italy. And that prime minister was this guy, Camillo de Cavour. I always like to stop and at least acknowledge his facial hair because it's creative and unique. And he's the one who helped consolidate Sardinia's power and unite them together with the other kingdoms to create a unified Italy. All right, in southern Italy, another Italian worked for unification, and that was this guy, Giuseppe Garibaldi. And his question 4 says, what was his group called? Very uncreatively refer to themselves as the Red Shirts, as you can see right there. One of the more glaring features of this photograph, or this drawing. All right, the other two I don't have bullet points for, but I think we can figure them out. Number 5, what city was named for the capital of Italy in 1870? It's still the capital of Italy today. That's Rome. And for number 6, the section of the city where the Pope would rule over, it's still today an independent country that exists within Italy, and that is called Vatican City. So for 5, Rome, 6, Vatican City. And that's how Italy went from disorganized kingdoms to the nation that we would recognize today. All right, another area that we saw unification, if you remember this slide from earlier, all these are independent Germanic kingdoms, the strongest of which was Prussia, which helped unify all of them into what we know today as Germany. And there's a couple reasons why Prussia was the most logical leader to unite the Germanic kingdoms. All right, 3 reasons. Mostly Germans, makes sense to unify Germans. All right, they promoted a strong sense of nationalism, which encouraged other Germanic people to unite together instead of being separated. And they had the largest army in Europe, so it made sense for them to, lead everybody and protect everybody and provide that political foundation that would be the nation of Germany. All right, just like for Italy, there's a couple of individuals that helped promote German unification. So let's take a look at those guys. All right, number 1 is Wilhelm I. Wilhelm I. And so he's going to take on this title, kind of one of the first presidents or kings of the newly unified Germany. And that's one of our vocab words, number 3. They didn't call their leader the king. They used the term Kaiser. So that's the German word for king. You can write the definition there in vocab word 3. And he appointed an ambitious prime minister that really helped the unification process. His name was Otto von Bismarck. I should also go back real quick and note the facial hair. Okay. Otto von Bismarck was super ambitious and today we just call him a politician, but back then he was a ruthless worker to achieve Germanic goals. All right, so a definition of realpolitik at the top here, this is our definition. Politics based on practical rather than moral or ideological considerations. So don't worry about your ethical code or who you have to step on to get your accomplished goal. Realpolitik allowed Otto von Bismarck to just do anything as long as it accomplished the goal for Germany, or his goal for Germany. So a couple of examples here of realpolitik is he pitted Prussia's neighbors against each other, shared information about each other to each other, sort of like gossiping in the background, so that they would be concerned about uh, dealing with each other and not preventing German unification. And then another thing is that there were laws and rules in his country, that written laws that defended his people's rights and set up government procedures, and he just ignored all those things. He goes, I don't care what the parliament decides. I don't care what the elected representatives, what laws they pass. I don't care how much money we've got for certain things. I'm going to do what I want, when I think it's best for Germany. And so those are two good examples of that. Another good example is how he used Austria to accomplish Germanic goals. Austria was a neighbor with a similar cultural heritage and similar language, so they felt like they had a lot in common. There's a chunk of land just north of Germany. Let me go back here for a second. Oops. This little chunk of land up here is Denmark. So he unified with Austria to help Germany add Denmark to their borders. And then once that was accomplished, then he turned on Austria because part of Austrian lands is territory he wanted for Germany also. So he used Austria to add territory and then went against Austria to take some of their territory. So again, realpolitik. And once all of this land was fitted out and Germany became a unified country, they had a title for their kingdom, and they wanted to trace their heritage back to the Holy Roman Empire and say, like, that was the first example of a united Germanic kingdom, and now we're the second example, and then a later leader will claim a third example. But they referred to their kingdom as the Second Reich. And you might recognize the phrase Third Reich. That'll come up during World War II. So there's some Austrian lands that they decided to take and Denmark lands, and they used Austria to gain those goals in both instances.